Sorry to interrupt. Yes, ma'am. Please continue. Sharing very beautifully, actually, from the beginning. Did you read this? What source did you use, Mataji?
Prabhuji, ISKCON Desire Tree, I heard a couple of lectures on the YouTube from our ISKCON devotees.
Whose lecture? Don't mind me asking.
I will have to look it up, Prabhuji. I had
Okay.
never heard them before, but they were
Okay.
very interesting lectures. I can share later on, very detailed
No
lectures.
problem. No problem. Please continue.
So, Gangadhar Prabhu saw all the ceremony, and they saw Nimai Pandit take sannyas, and he was given the name of Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was his given name after sannyas. So after the ceremony, Gangadhar Prabhu was very much affected. He was both ecstatic, after having been in association of such close association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so affected that when he went back to his village Chakhandi, he was constantly crying and constantly taking names of Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. He would just keep crying all the time. He would go into deep meditation for long periods of time. And just when he would come out of the meditation, he would keep crying the name of Shri Krishna Chaitanya. He couldn't believe that Shri Krishna Chaitanya had taken sannyas and in front of his own eyes, and tears were flowing incessantly out of his eyes all the time. So when people of Chakhandi saw this, they started calling Gangadhar Prabhu as Chaitanya Das. They gave him this name after seeing this uncontrollable ecstasy, enthusiasm of Gangadhar's devotion and ecstasy towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After several months, now at this time, Gangadhar Prabhu and Lakshmi Priya Mataji did not have any children, and they really wanted a devotee child. So at one point of time, they decided to visit Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri and take his blessings. So they visited him, and actually at that time, they were able to spend a good amount of time in his association. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw them and they paid their obeisances to him, surrendered at his feet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told them that Lord Jagannath is very, very happy that you have come here. You must go to the temple, you must see his deity form and tell him your wishes, whatever you wish for. The Lotus Eye Lord is extremely merciful. Please go see him and he will fulfill your wishes. So they, as per his instructions, they went to the temple, and in front of Lord Jagannath, they opened their hearts and they offered many prayers and asked for a child who's a devotee. So on the other hand, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his very personal servant Govinda that Lord Jagannath and Lord Chaitanya are not different from each other. So he told Govinda that in front of Lord Jagannath or in front of me, they have mentioned to me that they would like to have a devotee child. And they have prayed very, very sincerely. I could see into their hearts that from the core of their hearts, they desire an offspring who is a true devotee. So I am going to bless them with a devotee, a child. His name will be Srinivas. He will be very, very beautiful child. And when he will, right from his birth, you will be able to feel the divinity coming out of him. He will be the one that will distribute the Bhakti Shastras all over the world. And through Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, I will manifest the Bhakti Shastras, and through Srinivas, I will distribute the Bhakti Shastras. So he told his servant Govinda, instruct both Chaitanya Das and his wife to return back to their village, and they will soon be blessed with a child. So as Mahaprabhu promised, soon after they were blessed with the child. And the child, they had already been told that they should name the child Srinivas as per the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they named the child Srinivas. And when Srinivas was born, everybody could see that he had all the traits of a great personality or of a Mahabhagwat. He had golden complexion, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had long, elegant nose, broad shoulders, long arms coming down to the knees. So everybody could see that he was blessed with divinity just by looking at how beautiful he was. So as Srinivas started growing up, he was in the born in the family of devotees. So he would always hear and sing the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and of Radha and Krishna, and started learning shastras and names of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, forms, pastimes, qualities of Radha, Krishna, and Mahaprabhu. Started by hearting them right from the childhood. So then he took his instructions, his initial teaching about not spiritual matters, but about politics, religion, grammar, Ayurveda, poetry, these kind of other subjects from a very famous teacher of that time. His name was Dhananjaya Vidya Vachaspati. So Dhananjaya Vidya Vachaspati taught him many different subject matters.
So Mataji, was he also a teacher of Sanatana Goswami?
Prabhuji, I don't know this.
Okay, okay, Mataji. Sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
So he actually quoted, Dhananjaya Vidya Vachaspati quoted that he has nothing to teach Srinivas. Srinivas already knows these subject matters in his heart. They come out so easily, they come so easily to him that there is really nothing for me to teach. He needs to get spiritual education from a devotee, from a Vaishnav devotee. So he was instructed to find somebody who was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of the very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time was Narhari Sarkar. So Narhari Sarkar was such an intimate associate that that he was allowed to sing Mahaprabhu's glories in front of him, in his presence, in the Lord's presence. This was not allowed to anybody because Mahaprabhu, out of humility, would not let anyone else sing glories in front of him. Only Narhari Sarkar was allowed this honor. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very pleased by Narhari Sarkar. So this Narhari Sarkar was the first instructing guru, Shiksha Guru in the spiritual matters for Srila Srinivas Acharya. So when Srinivas Acharya met Narhari Sarkar, he immediately realized this has to be my Shiksha Guru, and he learned about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu more in more details from Narhari Sarkar. He learned about various scriptures and spiritual matters from him. So at that time, Narhari Sarkar told Srinivas that you need to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You need to associate with him. So go to Jagannath Puri and meet with him. But at that time, and he told him that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is about to finish his Leela on this planet. So before he finishes his pastimes, you should meet with him. But before Srinivas Acharya could go, his father passed away at that time. And this was a great shock. Srinivas was still very young, and he decided to take care of his mother at that time. So he was a little delayed in going to Jagannath Puri. After some time, and at that time, something I forgot to mention, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had instructed actually all the Goswamis of Vrindavan and Gadadhar Pandit that there will be a boy coming. His name is Srinivas. Prepare for his arrival. He instructed Gadadhar Pandit that you will be teaching him Srimad Bhagavatam in Jagannath Puri, and he instructed Goswamis to teach scriptures, all the knowledge as Mahaprabhu has described in his philosophy to Srinivas, and encourage his spiritual life. So this was his instructions to the Goswamis and Gadadhar Pandit. And Narhari Sarkar knew about these instructions. So he again told Srinivas that you need to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. So finally, Srinivas left for Jagannath Puri to meet with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was on his way to Jagannath Puri when he found out that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has wrapped up his pastimes and left the planet. So when he heard this, he was heartbroken. This was his life's intense desire to meet with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was what he had grown up learning. His parents had been able to meet with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and intimately associate with him, and now he was not able to do so. And actually, shortly after, Nityanand Prabhu also left the planet. So Srinivas was completely heartbroken. He was grief-stricken. He was almost suicidal. And in this state, one day he had a dream in which both Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityanand Prabhu visited him in the dream. And they told him that you need to continue your journey to Jagannath Puri, and Gadadhar Pandit is waiting for you there. He has a very important gift for you, and you need to meet with him. So that enabled Srinivas Acharya to continue his journey towards Jagannath Puri. He went to the Gopinath temple to take shelter of Gadadhar Pandit. Now, Gadadhar Pandit was also very much overcome with the separation from Lord Chaitanya. He was also incessantly crying and not he was not really able to instruct Srinivas in Bhagavatam. So he told Srinivas that I cannot teach you Bhagavatam for the reason that I have only one copy of Bhagavatam left and that I'm not in a state to teach you Bhagavatam. So he said, he showed him his copy of Bhagavatam and he said, this is the Bhagavatam that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and I used to read in the temple. We would sit and pore over it for hours and hours together. And when they used to read it, they were in such ecstasy, they would cry sometimes, and the tears would be flowing onto the pages of Bhagavatam, and some of the ink had wiped off, had become illegible to read a lot of the pages. So he said, we have cried so much into these pages that this Bhagavatam cannot be read anymore. So you need to procure another copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said, actually, I have instructed Narhari. So Narhari was, if you remember, the Shiksha Guru of Srinivas Acharya. So he said, go back to him in Bengal and he will procure a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam for you and bring it back. So upon those instructions, Srinivas Acharya left for Bengal. But before leaving, he wanted to associate with more devotees in Jagannath Puri, with more of Lord Chaitanya's associates. So he met many people. He went to the homes of Ramanand Rai, Sikhi Mahiti, Gopinath Acharya, many other devotees that had been in association with Lord Chaitanya. He paid them his respects. And then he went on to continue his journey to Bengal. So these devotees in Jagannath Puri, when they met with Srinivas, they all knew about Srinivas. They were told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that this boy will be coming, prepare for his arrival. He's very important in spreading our message. So when they saw him, they could immediately perceive the devotion, the intense devotion of Srinivas. They could feel his love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and for Radha Krishna. They could feel his ecstasy and the energy. And they described him as the embodiment of energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was known as Gaur Shakti. So he has been called Gaur Shakti because of that very reason, that they could feel the energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy. So, and that was the Gaur Shakti was how he was described by Lord Mahaprabhu's own intimate associates. So, so then Srinivas continued to onto his journey to Bengal, to Narhari Sarkar, and procure that new set of Bhagavatam. When he reached there, he learned that Gadadhar Pandit meanwhile passed away. So he finished his pastimes as well, and he also left the planet. This was a terrible blow because Srinivas was looking forward to take back the copy of Bhagavatam, complete the task that had been assigned by Gadadhar Pandit, and learn Bhagavatam from him. But he had already left the planet. So he again lamented miserably at his bad fortune of having missed association of now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu, and Gadadhar Pandit was only a short association that he was able to procure. So he was, at that time, he was very miserable and spent time just with his mother and with his teacher, Narhari Sarkar. Now, at that time, Sri Janva Devi, you might remember from other lecture, Janva Devi was the wife of Nityanand Prabhu. So at that time, she went and visited Narhari in Bengal. And she told Narhari that Srinivas needs to go to Vrindavan and meet with the Goswamis of Vrindavan. That was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, that he needs to make spiritual progress in the association of Goswami. So he needs to go to Vrindavan. He should not stay here anymore. So when Srinivas heard of this and that this was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, Narhari Sarkar told him that you need to study bhakti literature with Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. Go there, that was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wish. So he decided to set off for Vrindavan. But this is the second time he again delayed his journey slightly. So he stopped, made many stops on the way before reaching Vrindavan. He again wanted to associate with other direct followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to meet them in Puri and Navdvip. He wanted to visit Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home and meet with his wife in Navdvip, in Mayapur Dham. So he met with Vishnu Priya Devi. She was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wife, and some of his servants also he met there. So he was amazed. He was amazed at the austerity of Vishnu Priya Devi. She used to perform severe austerities. She would eat very little. She would chant a whole round of Hare Krishna, like the whole 108, like one mala, and then she would eat 1 grain of rice. So that's how she used to eat, only those grains that she had set aside for the amount of her, according to the amount of her daily chanting. And she gave him many instructions and many teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after paying respects to her, then he also visited Nityanand Prabhu's house, where Janva Devi Mata was, and Nityanand Prabhu's son was there, and he paid respects to them. So Janva Devi, Sri Janva Devi again encouraged him that he should go to Vrindavan without any further delay, because Rupa and Sanatan Goswami are waiting for him, and they will also be soon leaving the material world to join the Lord in spiritual world. So you need to hurry up and go to Vrindavan. He made one more stop on the way to Vrindavan, and I know that Atul Prabhu has told this story to us before. He made a stop at the house of Abhiram Thakur's house. And if you remember, Abhiram Thakur had a whip, a very extraordinary whip. It was called Jai Mangal. So that whip, if anybody gets a whip from this, he would feel the love of God, the ecstasy of the love of God. So he greeted him with 3 whips. And in this way, he bestowed love of God to him. And Srinivas Acharya was very, very ecstatic to meet him and his wife. And they both showed deep affection for Srinivas. They knew his devotion for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and a huge task that he has, that he will perform for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in future. So they gave him many, many instructions, and again told him the importance of going to Vrindavan as soon as possible. Then he made a few more stops. He stopped at in Katwa, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas order had been given, the one I talked about in the very beginning. He stopped through Agradweep, where the 3 famous Ghosh brothers had, if you remember, Nirbhay Prabhu told the story of three Ghosh brothers, Vasudev Ghosh, Govind Ghosh, and Madhav Ghosh. Their famous temple was in Agradweep, so he visited that temple. He also visited Ekachakra, which was the birthplace of Nityanand Prabhu. And finally, making several stops, he was very close to Vrindavan. When he was about to reach Vrindavan, the news reached him that Sanatan Goswami had left this mortal world. And soon after, Rupa Goswami, who could not bear the separation, also joined him in the spiritual world. So both Rupa and Sanatan Goswami finished their pastimes. And when Srila Srinivas Acharya heard this, he was completely devastated. He just sat there. He was not able to continue. He again was very grief-stricken, completely overwhelmed, very lamenting his misfortune, and almost suicidal. So then he one day he was in this state when he had a dream, and Rup and Sanatan Goswami actually visited him in the dream, and they told him, you need to continue your journey to Vrindavan, reach there and take teachings from Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Jeev Goswami. They are waiting for you there, and you need to learn from them. So without any further delay, go to Vrindavan. So with this, he got the strength, and he reached Vrindavan finally. So there he met Jeev Goswami and paid respects to him. Jeev Goswami introduced him to Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and finally he was initiated by Gopal Bhatt Goswami. And both of them started teaching him all the knowledge of Vaishnava philosophy and all the scriptures. So they were studying under Jeev Goswami, and there were two other disciples, and we have heard this story also in the pastimes of Narottam Das Thakur, which Rakshita Mataji had discussed, or Raksha Mataji, I think. So I'm sorry if I forgot. But Narottam Das Thakur and another disciple, Shyamanand Pandit, were very favorite students of Jeev Goswami, and they were studying under the guidance of Jeev Goswami as well at that time. They were both, all three were about the same age, and they became very close friends. So they completed their studies under the guidance of Jeev Goswami and became very inseparable, developed a very close friendship, became inseparable friends. So finally, Jeev Goswami gave them a big mission. Jeev Goswami and Gopal Bhatt Goswami, they gave them a very huge mission. They told him that you need to take all the literature written by the six Goswamis, all the manuscripts by the six Goswamis, and take it to Bengal and other nearby areas and spread this knowledge. You need to distribute these books of the Goswamis. This was all the Bhakti Rasa scriptures that was compiled by the Goswamis. So this was all packed into a big trunk and loaded onto a bullock cart, and all three of them were sent off on the journey to Bengal. So this journey to Bengal was actually pretty tedious. It was a long journey, and you had to go through very dense forests which were full of dacoits and bandits and beasts and whatnot. So it was but they were given some guards to go with them, and a couple of drivers for the cart. So in this way, they set off for Bengal. And before they left, they were all given their names. So Srinivas was now given the title of Acharya, and now from now on he was called Srila Srinivas Acharya. Narottam Das was called Narottam Das Thakur Mahashya, and Shyamanand Pandit was actually, before he was called Dukhi Krishna Das, but Jiva Goswami told him, because you have brought so much pleasure, Anand, to Radharani or Shyama, you would be called Shyamanand, and Shyamanand Pandit was his name from then on. So they continued, they kept on their mission to fulfill their mission of their initiating gurus and were on their journey. So after a long journey, they reached a place, a small village called Gopalapura. This was within the boundaries of a kingdom called Vishnupura. So Vishnupura was ruled by a king. In this story, I did not know before, is actually very, very famous. And Prabhuji, Atul Prabhu has told the story already before, but I'll go over it again. So the king of this kingdom, Vishnupura, was actually a very dishonest person. He had employed many dacoits and bandits in his kingdom who would do his bidding, and they will actually plunder the travelers in the traveling through the forest and rob them of their jewels or money or whatever treasures, and that's how the king filled his treasury. So that's how king was running his kingdom, by looting all these people. So he had these bandits under his employ, and he also had a court astrologer under his employment, whose business was to basically assess how much money, what is the value of the treasure that people are traveling with. Is it worth it to plunder these people or not? So anybody who will cross, the astrologer will tell the king, okay, this person is carrying so much diamonds or money or gold or jewels that you should send your dacoits and rob this person. So when they saw these, the three disciples, Srila Srinivas Acharya and his two friends with the bullock cart and so many guards and all coming, king asked astrologer, okay, so what are these people worth? What are they carrying? He tried to assess the value of what they are carrying. And he said, I don't know exactly what they are carrying, but whatever they are carrying is so valuable, it is priceless. It is beyond the value of any treasures we have ever acquired from anybody. It is way beyond any diamonds or jewels or gold. It is very, very valuable. I think it is definitely worth it to rob these people. So king sent his bandits, and when this party of Srinivas Acharya were resting, were taking a break in the periphery of the kingdom, these bandits stole the trunk full of books and made away with it. So they brought it to the king. King was very excited. He opened the trunk, thinking this would be full of jewels and whatnot. As soon as he opened the trunk, he saw that it's full of books. He said, what is this? I thought there'd be jewels and gold and whatnot. What is all this? So he opened the books and started leafing through them. He felt the handwriting of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. And as soon as he touched the pages and opened the books, he was completely mesmerized. He could immediately feel that this is not just some ordinary literature. This is something very divine. He immediately realized that he has made a great mistake, that he has committed a big sin. He was immediately full of remorse. He realized that the reason they are more valuable than gold is because they cannot be even calculated in material terms. These are much more valuable than anything. So he would incur great sin for this. So he was very regretful. He did not know who this belonged to, so he just stowed the trunk away. Meanwhile, Srila Srinivas Acharya and Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamanand Pandit, they all woke up and found the trunk was missing. They were suddenly grief-stricken because this was a very, very huge mission, and they were given the instructions by their initiating masters, their spiritual master, to fulfill this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they had failed this mission. So they were completely overwhelmed with grief. What are we going to do? Where did the books go? We failed everyone. So Srila Srinivas Acharya was a little bit older than the other two, and he was the head of the party. So he told the other two that I will take charge of finding the manuscripts. Both of you keep going and go on to Bengal and continue to spread the message of Mahaprabhu and our teachers and Goswamis. And I will stay here and try to find the books. So he stayed back. So he entered the kingdom of Vishnupura to find what could have happened to the books. And there was a Brahman there. He stayed with the Brahman and he asked the Brahman, he shared his problem, his misery, his dilemma with the Brahman, and said, "What can I do? Who can help me? Can you help me find these books?" So Brahmana told him, "You need to go to the king, and king can help you." He told him that king actually has interest in in hearing Bhagavatam, and he hears Bhagavatam at such and such time in his court every day. Why don't you go there, attend that session, and see if you can talk to the king at that time? So that's what Srinivas Acharya did. He went to the court where court priest was reciting the Bhagavatam. His name was Vyasa Acharya. He was, we've heard this story also before, I realized later on, but he was reciting Bhagavatam to the king and to the courtiers. And he was giving various kinds of interpretations of the verses of the philosophy. But everything that Srinivas Acharya heard was completely distasteful to him. He did not find it at all appealing. It was not in line with the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at all. He thought this was completely bogus, whatever this Pandit is saying. So after the session, he attended the session patiently for many days. And one day he could not take it anymore. And after the session, he told Vyasacharya that you are not following the text right. This is not the right commentary. This is not the right interpretation. This is not how the Bhagavad philosophy is. So Vyasacharya was very annoyed by this. Now, king was also nearby and he heard this. So king told Srinivas Acharya, "Why don't you talk about Bhagavatam next time?" So next day, initially Vyasacharya again started to talk about Krishna's Ras Leela. That's where they were talking. They were in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto. And Srinivas again was very was not happy with the kind of interpretation Vyasacharya was giving. So he's interrupted him and asked him some question. And he was respectful but very firm. He said, "You are not familiar. You're very unfamiliar with this work. This is not the right interpretation." So king invited Srinivas Acharya to tell him the right interpretations. So Srinivas Acharya started speaking. And when he spoke, everybody sat mesmerized in the courtroom. All the courtiers, the king, and even the arrogant Vyasacharya listened with full rapt attention. Because when Srinivas Acharya spoke, first of all, he's empowered by his gurus and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he had the right philosophy. He spoke with so beautifully. His interpretations were full of the Vaishnava explanations, proper authoritative descriptions of Krishna's pastimes, and with so much ras, so much mellows in his descriptions that people were completely overwhelmed, and they were as if they were participating in the Vraj Leelas themselves. So king was so happy. He's as if somebody had touched the core of his heart. That's how happy he was. And he encouraged him to keep going on and on for hours. He let Srinivas Acharya speak. Everybody could feel his love for Krishna. Everybody, when he finished, everybody applauded. They were so ecstatic. They were, some were crying, some were applauding, some were happy. Everybody was so ecstatic after hearing his descriptions. And even Vyasacharya was defeated, but he was very happy. So this king Birambir was greatly moved by Srinivas Acharya. He immediately knew that this is a great devotee, true devotee of the Lord, and I need to honor him properly. So he said, he invited him for dinner with him, and actually his intention was to serve Srinivas Acharya and maybe become his disciple. So at the dinner, he fed him fruits and water and sat at his feet like a humble servant. And now king had a dream the night before where a man with golden complexion had come in his dream. And because the king was so remorseful of those books, he said, "I am coming to take those books from you. I will come and take those books. They're work of God and they belong to devotees. They need to go back to devotees. So I will come and take them from you. Don't worry. So when king was dining with or serving Srinivasacharya, he told Srinivasacharya, he realized that Srinivasacharya is the man that came in his dream. He suddenly realized that this must be the golden complexion man that came in my dream. So he took Srinivasacharya and showed him the trunk full of books. And when Srinivasacharya saw that he had found those books, he had recovered this priceless possession of the Goswamis, he was ecstatic. He was so thankful and excited. But the king was very remorseful. He apologized from Srinivasacharya, and he uh, asked him to take him under his wings, make him his servant, and offered his own whole kingdom to Srinivasacharya. Allow me to be your servant and take my entire kingdom and teach me this, teach me the Bhagavatam, teach me the philosophy that you were propounding in the court before. I want to learn everything from him. So Srinivasacharya gave him some instructions, and actually by and by that kingdom of Vishnupura became a very big Vaishnav center. The Vaishnav philosophy became very popular after that, because the king got converted to a true Vaishnava, and he started preaching and he started learning, and so the Vishnupura flourished after that with lots of devotees in there. So Srinivasacharya, in this way, he continued his journey, took the books to Bengal and distributed, and that's how he got the name of being the first book distributor of the Bhakti Rasa literature. So that's how he fulfilled Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's promise that he will be the one who will distribute the Bhakti Shastras everywhere. So later on, Srinivasacharya continued he went back to Jajigram, and where his mother now lived, and and his mother wanted him to get married. So in time he got married. He actually was married twice, and he had some children. One of his daughters actually became a very big preacher. Her name was Hemlata Thakurani. Sri Hemlata Thakurani. She became a very big preacher. Towards the later part of his life, Srinivasacharya was mostly consumed in meditation, absorbed in deep meditation for hours and hours. So he took many disciples. He spread the message of Mahaprabhu. He initiated 117 disciples. And one of his very favorite disciple and very intimate associate as well was called Ramachandra Kaviraj. So I will just share this last very nice story, important pastime of Srinivasacharya, and then I will close. I know the time is up, but this is very, very beautiful. So, so one day Srinivasacharya was in this deep meditation, and he would go into deep meditation for several hours, and his wives were used to that. But this time he went into such a deep meditation that the night was over, the next day came, it was evening of the next day, and he was still in meditation. So his wives got very worried. They did not want to disturb him, but they did not know what to do. His breathing was very slow. He showed almost no signs of consciousness. So they called his disciple Ramchandra Kaviraj and told him that we are really worried about our husband. Why is he like this? He typically goes into meditation but comes out. Why is he so not coming out at all? So Ramchandra Kaviraj tried to console them that everything will be all right. He's just meditating. My Gurudev likes to get immersed in the Vraja of Krishna, and he must be very much engaged in that pastime, because he would go, pure devotees can go into the spiritual world and into the eternal pastimes of Krishna. So that's how Srila Srinivasacharya was, and he must be participating in one of the eternal pastimes. So we must not disturb him. But the wives were very upset, very inconsolably crying. So Ramchandra Kaviraj said, okay, he sat down next to Srinivas Acharya and also began to meditate. So he knew that he must have gone into Braj Leela. He began to meditate on Braj Leela, and he became completely immersed in Braj Leela. He entered into the Braj Leela pastime, and he saw himself as Karun Manjari. He saw that he could hear the sound, he could see the trees of Braj, the rivers, the vines hanging from the trees, and he could hear Radharani's Sakhis laughing with Krishna somewhere in the distance. So he followed the sound of laughter. And he saw that they were all standing around the bank of Sri Radhakunda. He saw that there were 2 or 3 manjaris standing away from Radha and Krishna, and they are looking towards the water of the Radhakund. He joined them and he said, "What's going on?" So now remember, Ramchandra Kaviraj is the Karun Manjari right now. So the Sakhis, the other Manjaris replied that Mani Manjari has entered into Radha Kund looking for the nose ring of Radharani. Now Mani Manjari is Srila Srinivas Acharya. So when Karun Manjari heard this, she decided to join Mani Manjari in the Radha Kund water and find Radharani's nose ring. So she also dove into the water and joined in the search. So within half an hour, she found, Karun Manjari found Radharani's nose ring and gave it to Mani Manjari. Mani Manjari was overjoyed at finding nose ring because she was trying to find it for so long. It was a long time. She was trying to find it for a long time. She gave the nose ring to Roop Manjari, who's Roop Goswami, and she placed it in the nose of Radharani. So nose ring was returned. In this way, Karun Manjari and Mani Manjari completed the services for Radharani, and Roop Roop Manjari said to Mani Manjari that Radharani is very pleased with your seva and she has given you her chewed tambul for you. Take this chewed tambul. So Mani Manjari took that tambul, took a little bit for herself and gave the rest to Karun Manjari. And so now that the nose ring was found, both Mani Manjari and Karun Manjari, basically Srinivas Acharya and Ramchandra Kaviraj, returned to their consciousness. So they came back to the material world. So in this way, 3 days had gone by. So in spiritual world, it hadn't been a very long time, but in material world, 3 days had gone by. And both the wives were sitting there crying bitterly. And finally, when Srinivas and Acharya and Ramachandra Kaviraj came to the consciousness, the wives had immediately made them prasadam and told them to take rest. And next day they asked Ramchandra Kaviraj, what happened? Where was her husband? Why was he in such a condition? Why wouldn't he talk to us? What was going on? So he told them the story of Radharani's lost nose ring. And in this way, they had performed the service for Radharani. This was the Manas Seva that only very highly exalted devotees can perform. So in the closing, nobody really knows how Srinivas Acharya finished his pastime, his Leela on earth. His disciples must be aware, but they wanted to keep that details intimate and were never disclosed to the world. So this is all I had to share. Please forgive me if I made any mistakes or wrong information or anything, but this is what I learned so far. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, it was very nice. Very, very amazing.
Beautiful. Beautifully told. Beautifully. Totally mesmerizing.
Amazing, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very
Thank you.
detailed and so many things.